The crystalline world of Valoria Prime shimmered under twin suns that never fully set. Princess Queen Elindra stood on the highest balcony of the Obsidian Palace and looked out over endless spires of glowing glass. Her skin glowed soft silver, and her long hair floated like mist, even though no wind blew. She ruled the Stellaran Empire with calm words and sharp thoughts. The Valori people lived light and gentle lives. They floated through low-gravity halls and spoke mind to mind when words felt too heavy. Their bodies could not lift heavy things, or run fast, or breathe dirty air. Yet their machines and their minds ruled half the galaxy. Today a small ugly shuttle fell from the sky and crashed in the forbidden outer wastes. Smoke rose black against the pale horizon. Scouts reported one survivor, a human. Elindra felt curious. Humans were new to the stars and known mostly for making trouble and dying quick. Gave the order to bring the stranger to the capital, instead of leaving him to die in the poison dust. Guards in shining armor found him walking toward the city on foot. He carried nothing but torn clothes and a calm face. The high gravity pulled at every step, yet he moved steady. Radiation burned the air, yet his skin stayed whole. They put chains on his wrists, more for show than need. He did not fight. They brought him through the great gates and into the throne hall. Light danced on black stone walls like trapped stars. Elindra sat high on her crystal seat, with guards and nobles all around. She looked down at the human called Kale. He stood straight, with dirt on his face and no fear in his eyes. She spoke first in the smooth tongue all empires used. You came without invite, and crossed land that kills most in hours. Why? Kale answered in a low voice. My ship broke, and I walked until I found people. Elindra tilted her head. You are human? Yes, humans break easy here. Gravity crushes bones, air poisons lungs, thoughts twist from our psychic waves. You will not last a week. Kale met her gaze. We will see. A soft laugh moved through the hall like wind over glass. Nobles whispered. One said he looks weak like wet paper. Another said humans always die fast when left alone. Elindra raised a hand, and silence fell. She felt something odd in his steady stare. No tremble, no sweat, no wide eyes. She decided to test him more. You will stay in the palace and work. Clean floors, carry trays, serve food. If you live long enough, we may talk again. If not, the wastes wait. Kale bowed once. Thank you, Princess Queen. Guards led him away down long halls to a small stone room with one window. They gave him rough clothes and a list of tasks, and started work at once. First, he swept dust from marble steps. The dust carried spores that made most outsiders see ghosts and scream. Kale breathed deep and kept sweeping. Servants watched from doorways. One young maid named Lyra came close. She spoke soft. Why do you not shake? The air here hurts minds. Kale shrugged. I breathe slow and think of other things. Lyra stared. You will break soon. Everyone does. Kale smiled small. Maybe. He finished the steps and moved to the kitchens. There he lifted heavy pots of glowing broth. The pots weighed more than any Vylori could hold. He set them down without grunt. Cooks stared. One old cook said, You lift like machine, yet you have no metal in you. Kale said, I grew up lifting heavier things on my homeworld. The cook laughed. Your homeworld must be cruel. Kale nodded once. It is. Worked without rest. He carried trays through crowded halls during feasts. Nobles pushed him aside for fun. He stepped around them smooth and never spilled a drop. One noble threw wine at his face to see him flinch. Kale wiped it off with his sleeve and kept walking. The noble frowned. No anger, no shout, only calm. Elindra watched from her seat during one feast. She noticed how he moved. He stepped light but firm. He watched everything without staring. He heard whispers from far corners. She sent a mind probe, gentle and quick. It touched his thoughts and bounced back like hitting stone. No fear, no secret plans. Weeks passed in the shining palace, and Kale kept working without pause. He rose before the twin suns climbed high, and finished tasks long after most Vialori slept in their soft glowing pods. The spore-filled air still swirled around him every day, yet his eyes stayed clear, and his steps sure. Servants began to whisper about the strange human who did not cough or dream bad dreams. Lyra, the young maid, followed him sometimes when she carried water jugs. She asked quiet questions. How do you stand the weight here? Your legs should hurt all the time. Kale lifted a stack of heavy silver plates and set them on the long feast table. He said, My home has stronger pull than this. I trained my body young. Lyra blinked slow. Your world sounds like a hard place to live. Kale nodded. It teaches you to keep going. One evening during the great harvest feast, nobles filled the hall with songs and light shows from their mines. Powers. Kale moved among them with trays of sweet glowing nectar. A tall noble named Varen, with sharp crystal spikes on his shoulders, laughed loud. He grabbed Kale by the arm and pulled him close. Show us human tricks, stranger. Dance for us. Kale stood calm. I do not dance. Varen smiled mean. Then drink this. He pushed a small cup of bright green liquid toward Kale. It burns soft ones like fire. Drink and prove you belong. The hall grew quiet. Eyes turned. Elindra watched from her high seat with no change on her face. Kale took the cup. He smelled it once, then drank it all in one slow swallow. The liquid tasted like acid and metal, yet he set the cup down empty. No flinch, no gasp. Varen stared. You should be on the floor screaming. Kale wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. It has a strong taste. That is all. Laughter broke out, nervous and surprised. Varen turned red and walked away. After the feast, Elindra called Kale to a small side room. Walls of clear crystal showed stars outside. She stood alone. No guards. She said, You drank venom made for killing pests. Why did it not harm you? Kale looked at the stars. My blood fights poison better than most. Humans carry many defenses from a world full of danger. Elindra stepped closer. You hide something. I feel it. Kale met her eyes. I hide nothing, Princess Queen. I am only what you see. She sent another mind touch stronger this time. It pressed against his thoughts like wind on a wall. Nothing entered. She pulled back. Your mind is closed. How? Kale said, I think simple thoughts. No room for others to walk in. Elindra frowned. Tomorrow you face a test in open court. A noble will challenge your will. If you fail, you go back to the wastes. Kale bowed. I understand. Next day the court gathered in the wide round chamber. Light beams crossed above like swords. Noble Lord Thalor stood in the center. He wore robes of living light that shifted colors. He pointed at Kale. This human mocks us with his calm. I will break his mind and show his secrets. Elindra sat high and watched. Begin. Thalor raised hands. A wave of pure thought rolled out hot and bright. It struck Kale like a storm. Most would fall and scream inside their heads. Kale stood still. The wave hit and flowed around him. Thalor pushed harder. Sweat appeared on his silver skin. His light robes flickered. Then he cried out sharp. Pain stabbed his own mind. He dropped to his knees, hands pressed to temples. What are you? Kale said nothing. He just stood. Thalor crawled back. The hall stayed silent. Slow. Kale. She looked at Kale long. You did not fight back. You only stood. Kale said, I did not need to fight. Thalor stood shaky. He cheats somehow. No one can block like that, without power. Elindra waved a hand. Take him to the lower vaults. I will question him alone. Guards led Kale down deep stairs to a room of smooth black stone. No windows, only one light globe floating above. Elindra came soon after. She closed the door. Now speak true. What are you? Kale leaned against the wall. I am human, nothing more. Elindra paced slow. Humans die fast in our worlds. You do not. You lift what we cannot. You breathe what kills us. You block minds like stone walls. Explain. Kale looked at the light globe. My people come from a place that tries to kill us every day. Heavy gravity, bad air, poison plants, killer beasts. We grew strong to live. Not machines, not mind powers, just bodies that endure. Elindra stopped pacing. You speak like you know our empire well. Kale said, I listen when others talk. I watch. Elindra stared hard. You warn me now, whatever game you play it ends soon. The next proving will break you. Our old machines test true strength. No one hides from them. Kale smiled small for the first time. I already passed many tests. Elindra felt cold inside. She turned to leave. At the door she stopped. You will not survive here. Kale answered soft. We will see. She walked out and the door sealed behind her. In the hall outside, Lyra waited. She whispered to another servant. He still stands, even after Thalor fell. The whispers spread fast through the palace. The human did not break. Something strange walked among them, and it grew. Stronger each day. Elindra returned to her throne. She looked out at the glowing city. For the first time, doubt touched her thoughts. The human called Kale worked on. He cleaned, he carried, he watched. And somewhere deep in the empire, old things began to stir. Things that waited long for a spark. The spark walked quiet in their halls, wearing plain clothes and a calm face. The palace bells rang loud one morning to call all nobles to the great hall. Elindra stood on her balcony and watched dark clouds gather over the crystal spires. She felt unrest in the air, like a storm no one could see. Reports came fast from the outer sectors. House Vexar, the old rival line, had broken treaty. They woke the ancient guardians, machines buried deep since the last great war. Towering figures of living crystal and steel marched now toward the capital. Each step cracked the ground and sent tremors through the city. Elindra called her council. They gathered quick in the war room, with maps of light floating above the table. The fleet stays far on the rim, fighting border raiders. No ships can return in time. One advisor said, our shields hold strong against energy. But these guardians use raw force. They smash through walls like paper. Elindra nodded, calm on the outside. Inside, fear grew small, but real. She ordered all defenses ready. Energy cannons charged. Psychic barriers raised by every noble who could stand. Palace guards formed lines with long spears of light. The people moved to inner shelters, yet the machines came closer each hour. Kale heard the bells while he scrubbed floors in a quiet wing. He stopped and listened. Servants ran past with wide eyes. Lyra stopped near him. The guardians wake. They destroy everything. You should hide. Kale set down his cloth. Where do they come from? Lyra pointed east. The wastes beyond the gates. They marched straight here. Kale stood. He looked toward the sound of distant booms. I will go see. Lyra grabbed his arm. No, you will die. They crush bones without trying. Kale gently pulled free. Stay safe, Lyra. He walked out through side doors. No one stopped him. Streets. Valori floated fast to safety. Guards shouted orders. Kale moved against the flow. He reached the outer wall, just as the first guardian appeared. It rose tall as 10 men. Crystal armor glowed blue. Arms ended in blades that cut air with sharp whistles. It stepped forward, and the wall shook. Energy beams shot from towers. They hit the machine and sparked bright. The guardian did not slow. It raised one arm and slammed down. Stone shattered. Chunks flew like rain. Guards fell back, screaming. Elindra stood on the high balcony. She raised hands and sent a wave of pure will. A shining barrier rose gold and thick. It stopped the next blow. The guardian hammered again. Cracks appeared in the light wall. Elindra pushed harder. Sweat appeared on her silver skin. Her guards joined minds to hold the shield. Yet more guardians came. 3, 4. They advanced slow but sure. The barrier flickered. Elindra shouted down to her people, "Hold the line. We stand together." In the breach below, Kale watched. He saw the strain on every face. He saw guards fall when crystal blades swept through. He stepped forward. A guard saw him and yelled, "Go back, prisoner. You have no place here." Kale kept walking. He passed broken spears and fallen shields. He reached the edge of the fight. Elindra looked down from above. She saw him clear in the dust. Her voice carried sharp over the noise. "Stomp, Kale. You will be torn apart. You will not survive here." Kale turned his head up. For the first time, his eyes showed something hard and old, like stone worn by long years. He spoke loud enough for her to hear. "I have survived worse." He stepped into the open ground between the wall and the nearest guardian. The machine turned its faceless head toward him. It raised a massive arm. Kale did not run. He did not shout. He waited. The arm came down fast. Kale rolled left at the last breath. The fist hit ground and made a crater. Dust rose thick. Kale came up inside the reach. He grabbed a broken spear from the dirt. The metal felt light in his hand. He swung hard at the joint where crystal met steel. Sparks flew. The guardian paused. It swung again. Kale ducked low and rolled under the leg. He came up behind and drove the spear into a glowing seam. The point sank deep. Blue light leaked out like blood. The machine staggered. Kale pulled the spear free and struck again. Harder. The joint cracked loud. The leg buckled. The guardian fell to one knee. Kale climbed fast. He used the broken armor like steps. He reached the chest plate. A core pulsed bright. Kale raised the spear high. He drove it down with all his weight. The core shattered. Light exploded outward. The guardian went still and toppled slow. It crashed like thunder. Kale jumped clear before it hit. He landed hard, but rolled and stood again, breathing steady. The other guardians turned toward him. Elindra stared down in shock. Her barrier still held, but weaker. She whispered to herself, "How?" Guards cheered, sudden and wild. The human fights. He broke one. Kale did not stop. He ran toward the next machine. It swung low. He leaped high using the low gravity to his gain. He landed on the arm and ran up it. The guardian tried to shake him off. Kale held tight. He reached the shoulder and found another seam. He had no spear now. He used his fists, pounded again and again. Metal bent, crystal cracked. Tore at wires, with bare hands. Sparks burned his skin. He did not stop. The arm went limp. The guardian tried to grab him with the other. Kale slid down and kicked at the knee joint. It snapped. The machine fell forward. Kale rolled away as it hit ground. Dust covered him. He rose coughing, but moving. The third guardian charged. Kale picked up a piece of crystal armor from the first fallen one, heavy and sharp. He held it like a shield. The guardian slammed down. Kale met the blow. The impact drove him back. Feet slid in dirt, yet he held. Muscles strained, but did not break. He pushed back, sudden and hard. The Guardian rocked. Kale dropped the shard and charged low. He tackled the leg like a tree, shoulder first. The joint gave way. The machine toppled. Kale climbed again. He found the core. He smashed it with fists until it went dark. The Guardian died quiet. Now only one left. It stood tall and watched. Elindra lowered her hands slow. The barrier faded. She felt weak but alive. She watched Kale stand bloody and torn, yet still on his feet. The last Guardian raised both arms. It prepared one final strike. Kale looked up at it. No fear, only calm. He spoke soft but clear. Come then. The machine charged. Kale waited until the last second. Then he moved, fast and sure. He slipped between the legs, grabbed a loose cable from the fallen machines. He wrapped it quick around the ankle. He pulled hard. The Guardian tripped. It fell face first. The ground shook. Kale climbed the back. He reached the neck joint. He tore at it with raw strength. Metal screamed. Crystal broke. The head came loose. The core inside sparked once and died. The field. Smoke rose from broken machines. Kale stood on the last one, chest heaving. Blood ran down his arms. He looked toward the palace. Elindra met his gaze from far away. She felt something new. Not fear, not anger, respect. The human had saved them all, and no one knew why. Yet the question burned bright in her mind. Who was he truly? The battle ended, but the real test had just begun. Smoke still rose from the broken Guardians, in thick black clouds that hid the twin suns. The field outside the palace wall looked like a graveyard of giant crystal statues. Pieces of armor lay scattered and glowing faintly as their power faded. Kale stood on the chest of the last fallen machine. His clothes hung in rags. Blood ran from cuts on his arms and face. One eye swelled shut, yet he breathed steady, and his hands stayed clenched. The Velori guards crept forward slow. They held spears loose now, no longer pointed at threat. They stared at the human who had done what their weapons could not. Elindra descended from the balcony. Her silver skin looked pale under the dust. She walked through the breach in the wall. Her steps floated light, but her face showed strain. She stopped 10 paces from Kale. The wind moved her hair like slow water. She spoke first. Ancient Guardians, built to end armies. You did it with bare hands and scraps. Kale wiped blood from his lip. They were strong, but slow. They follow patterns. I saw the weak points. Elindra looked at the wreckage. One Guardian had its chest torn open. Wires hung like broken veins. Another had legs bent wrong. The third lay with head crushed. The last had its core smashed dark. She said, our machines feel no pain. They do not tire. They do not fear. Yet you made them fall. Kale stepped down from the machine. His boots crunched on crystal shards. He said machines break when you hit the right spot hard enough, no matter how big. Elindra moved closer. She saw the deep cuts on his hands. Blood dripped steady to the ground. You bleed like us, yet you stand. Most would lie down and die from less. Kale shrugged one shoulder. Goes. I keep moving. A young guard stepped up. He held out a medical cloth, glowing soft blue. For the wounds, human. Kale took it and pressed it to his arm. The cloth stuck and sealed the cut. Cool relief spread. He nodded thanks. Elindra watched every move. She said, come inside. The court waits. They must see what happened here. Kale followed her back through the broken wall. Guards formed lines on both sides. They did not chain him now. People peeked from shelters. Whispers followed like shadows. The human won. He saved the queen. He fights like nothing we know. In the great hall, nobles gathered again. Light still danced above, but dimmer. Many sat injured with glowing bandages. Thalor the Mind Challenger stood in back, his face pale. He watched Kale enter with wide eyes. Elindra took her throne. She raised a hand. Silence fell. Quick! She looked at Kale, standing in the center. Dirty, bloody calm. She spoke to all. This human called Kale stood against the Guardians when our shields failed. He broke them one by one, without weapon or power. Our empire owes him life. Murmurs rose. Some nobles bowed heads, others stared hard. Varen, the tall one with crystal spikes, stepped forward. He said he cheats. No baseline creature does this. He must hide augments or forbidden tech. Elindra turned to Kale. Show us. Open your body to scan. No secrets now. Kale nodded. He removed his torn shirt. Scars covered his chest and back. Old burns, knife marks, broken bones healed wrong then right. A healer noble came close with a small crystal orb. It floated over Kale. Light swept him head to toe. The orb hummed, then glowed green. No implants, no cybernetics. Psionics. Pause. Baseline human only. The hall went quiet again. The healer said impossible, yet true. Elindra leaned forward. How? Kale pulled his shirt back on slow. My people train hard. We push limits every day. Gravity's stronger than yours. Air full of poison. Creatures that hunt us. We survive or we die. No middle ground. That makes bodies tough. Minds tough. Phalor laughed weak. You lie. No mind blocks like stone without training. Kale looked at him. I grew up where thoughts can kill. We learned to shut them out young. Simple walls work best. Elindra stood. She walked down the steps to stand before him, close enough to see the fresh blood on his skin. She said, You could have run. The wastes were open. You chose to fight for us. Why? Kale met her eyes. I saw people in danger. Children hiding, guards trying hard. Why? Could help. So I did. Elindra felt warmth in her chest, strange and new. She said, Our mercy brought you here. Our arrogance kept you low, yet you saved what we could not. Kale said, Mercy matters. Arrogance blinds. Elindra turned to her nobles. This human earns freedom. No chains, no labor. He walks as guest. A voice from back called out, What if more come? What if they all fight like him? Elindra looked around the hall. Then we learn respect, or we learn fear. She faced Kale again. Rest now. Heal. We speak more soon. Guards led him to a better room. Soft bed, clean water, food that did not poison. He sat on the edge and looked out a wide window. Stars shone bright. He touched the scars on his arm. Old memories stirred. The battle had ended, but the truth waited close. Elindra stayed in the hall, after all. Left, she walked to a side chamber. There an old archivist waited, with sealed records. She said, Open the black files, from the first contact. The archivist hesitated. Those are forbidden. Elindra said, Now they matter. The archivist touched a crystal panel. Light bloomed. Images appeared. A human ship, the UNS Tartarus, big and plain. It approached Vyloria years ago. Peaceful, curious. Then Vylori warships fired. They saw threat in the bold approach. The ship broke apart. Most died. One escape pod drifted, lost. The record said human pest contained. No survivors expected. Elindra stared at the images. A face appeared in the pod log. Younger, but same eyes, same calm. Kale, or someone who looked like him. She closed the record. Her hands shook small. The human had come back, not for revenge, but for something else. She whispered to the empty room. Who are you truly? Outside the palace, night fell soft. Kale lay on the bed. He did not sleep yet. He thought of home, of lost friends, of long years hiding and waiting. The Empire had taken much. Now it owed much. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring answers, and perhaps more fights. Morning light came soft through the wide window of Kale's new room. He woke early as always. His body hurt from the fight. Cuts pulled tight under the glowing bandages. Bones ached deep. Yet he stood and stretched slow. He looked out at the crystal city. Spire tops caught the twin suns and threw rainbows across the streets. People moved below. Some glanced up toward the palace. Whispers still spread. The human who broke the guardians. The one who saved the queen. Kale washed his face in cool water from a stone basin. He put on fresh clothes left for him. Plain gray tunic and pants. No chains. No guard at the door. He walked the halls free. Servants bowed when he passed. Some smiled shy. Lyra waited near the kitchens. She carried a tray of fresh fruit that glowed pale. She said, "You look better today. The wounds heal fast." Kale took an offered piece. Tasted sweet and cool. He said the body mends what it must. Lyra looked around, then spoke low. "The queen calls for you soon, in the sealed archive room. She wants truth." Kale nodded. "I will go." He finished the fruit and walked on. Alindra waited in a small chamber, deep inside the palace. Walls of dark crystal held old records in floating light. No guards stood inside, only her and an old archivist who bowed low when Kale entered. Alindra stood by a wide panel. She looked tired, eyes shadowed from no sleep. She said, "Sit if you wish." Kale stayed standing. Alindra touched the panel. Light bloomed bright. Images appeared again. The UNS Tartarus, a sturdy human ship, old design. It floated peaceful near Vealoria space. Then Vealori cruisers closed in. Weapons fired hot. The ship broke in silence. Debris spread like seeds. One small pod escaped. It drifted dark and cold. The record ended. Elindra turned to Kale. "Captain Elias Kane, last known survivor. Age recorded 47 years past, yet you stand here young." Kale looked at the frozen image of his own face. Younger, hopeful. He said, "Cryosleep. I drifted long. Salvagers found the pod years later. They woke me. I learned your language, your ways, your weaknesses." Elindra stepped closer. "You came to spy, to weaken us." Kale shook his head slow. "I came to see, to test. Humans rebuilt quiet after the loss. We grew strong in secret. We sent scouts to old enemies, to learn if peace could come, or if war must. I chose your empire first, because you dismissed us so fast." Elindra said, "We saw threat. Your ship came bold. No warning, no protocol. We acted to protect." Kale said, "We came, curious. We wanted friends. You gave death." Elindra looked down, her hands clasped tight. "We were wrong. Arrogance blinded us. We called humans pests, death world trash. Yet one of you walked our halls, breathed our poison, fought our machines, saved our lives." Kale said, "Not all humans fight the same, but many endure. We come from a place that kills the weak, so the strong remain." Elindra met his eyes. "Why save me? You could have let the Guardians win. Let the Empire fall, then take revenge." Kale answered calm. "Extinction solves nothing. Respect does. I fought for the people I saw, the children, the guards, the queen who showed mercy once, even if small." Elindra felt warmth again in her chest, stronger now. She said, "The council meets today. They fear you. They fear what comes next. Humans. stronger, faster. Kale said, "We do not want war. We want place, equal place. No more hiding, no more exile. Tell your council the next human ship will not crash. It will land open, with flags and words. If welcome, if not, we prepare for what follows." Elindra nodded slow. "I will tell them. I will speak for you, for truth." She paused. "What now, Elias Kane?" Kale smiled small. "I stay a while. I heal. I watch. Then I go home, to tell my people what I found." Elindra said, "You are welcome here, as ally, as friend, not prisoner, not curiosity." Kale bowed once. "Thank you, Princess Queen." They walked out together, into the main hall. Nobles waited there, faces mixed with awe and fear. Elindra raised her voice clear. "This man is Elias Kane, captain of the lost Tartarus. Mistake. He saved us from our own guardians. He asks no throne, no power, only respect. From this day humans are not pests. They are equals. We learn, we grow." The hall stayed quiet a long moment. Then one noble bowed deep. Others followed. Even Varen bent slow. Thalor looked away but nodded once. Elindra turned to Kale. "Walk with me to the balcony." They went up the wide stairs, out into open air. The city spread below, bright and alive. Elindra said, "Look. This world was built for fragile ones. We forgot strength comes in many forms." Kale looked out. "Your people can learn, adapt, like mine did." Elindra said, "Will you teach us some things?" Kale nodded. "What I can, in time." He looked at the stars beyond the spires. Somewhere out there, Earth waited, stronger now, ready. First time in years. The empire had fallen low in pride. Now it rose humble. The stars belonged to those who endured, not those who shone brightest, but those who kept standing when light failed. Kale stepped back. "I rest now. Tomorrow we talk more." Elindra watched him go. She stayed on the balcony alone. Wind moved her hair gentle. She whispered soft to the sky. We were the ones who would not survive, not knowing who he truly was. The twin suns climbed higher. Light bathed the world. A new age began quiet, built on truth, and one human who refused to break.